Welcome to another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts. I'm your host, Marty Elliott. Along with me today from Zamboni is Brandon Radeke, formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins for the last 10 years, running the ice operations of the PPG facility, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today, we have our guest, Jack Schultz, Ice Operations Manager of the Oilers Ice Facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome, gentlemen.
How's it going, Marty?
Fantastic, Jack. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you share with the audience what your background is, where you came from before entering this part of your career and experience that you've had so far in the ice industry?
Yeah, so I started at an outdoor rink as a skate guard at 15. Had a buddy that worked there, just hung out with him a couple times and decided I wanted to hang around some more and get a job the following season. Started doing some outdoor rinks. The following year I started helping to build them. From there, just kind of ignited a passion. Going ever since 2021, started doing indoor rink stuff. 2022 as our ice operations manager going forward. Also going into the outdoor rink stuff, I was a venue manager and project manager for a couple years, along with all the installs. So a pretty wide experience between outdoor and indoor, and just focusing more the last couple of years on, polishing the skills.
Nice. So you got into it at a young age. Who was your mentor? Who brought you into the industry? What brought you to the industry?
So our manager we had at the outdoor rinks, named Dave Hoffman. Shout out to him. He was the one who really taught me how to drive a Zam. I was learning how to drive before I had a license, actually. I was 16. And when I started building outdoor rinks, I was going along with him, traveling a couple states and learning how these rinks function. Building them really helps me understand, the ins and outs of our buildings, even how all the piping works, the glycol. And then that helped too, because I started doing the CIT classes in 2021. So when I get to the bar course, everybody, looms over that. It's kind of a more ominous course, and I already had a very well understanding from building these. So it was kind of a breeze, pretty easy to get in there once you know what you're going on.
Right. It seems based on timing, 9 years later, you've taken a real fast track into this industry. Are you actually a certified ice technician now?
Yeah, so I got certified last year after NARS. And
Congrats.
then so I started my CRA track that following fall, and just wrapped up my last class recently at NARS. So waiting on the results to come back and hoping I pass.
Nice. So let's get into your new facility that you're presently with. Why don't you talk a little bit about the Ice Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and your position and what your actual day looks like, and who reports to you, and then we'll get into some of the topics of what machines you're operating, what all those funny and fantastic options that you have on them. Why don't you share with the audience?
Yeah, so Oklahoma doesn't have a whole lot of rinks. There's two more towards the center of the state. We only had one here in Tulsa for a very long time. We just saw a need for the sport to grow. And so a few years ago, we had our owner, Andrew Skirto, who purchased the team, our ECHL Oilers, and then from there started building a brand new facility. So we took an existing Macy's and we gutted it. We put 2 sheets of ice in it. We just opened this past March. With that, just this last week, we were able to pull the ice out of our single pad facility, so we can start addressing some renovations and repairs there, and just really trying to build the sport better, make sure we have top-notch facilities. Facilities look great inside. They got a great restaurant. They got 2 full-size sheets of ice, which we haven't had before. The single pad is just a little bit short of regulation size. So really nice to see the sport grow, and then kind of get into our daily life. Day-to-day operations, we show up. I've got a group of morning guys. So I've got 2 part-timers. They come in. They do all of our ice maintenance, get the machines ready for the day. We usually do about hour and a half to 2 hours of maintenance before our user groups start, and just kind of go into it from there. So our oilers go on in the morning whenever they're in season. Our guys just knock out of the park on getting the ice ready. The team loves it. First time they got on the ice, they were raving about it. So it's really cool to see. And then our machines just really up the ante on the quality of ice we can give them.
The Oilers, share with the audience what league they're in, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that facility you're at is their practice facility, but they play out of an actual stadium facility in Tulsa. Is that correct?
Correct. So yeah, they're the ECHL, and so we practice out of our current facility. It's the Lee Street Ice Center. Their game facility is the BOK Center downtown. Now that's a 20,000 seat arena built in 2008. Good, good views all the way around, and they've got two 545s over there.
Nice, nice. All right, Brandon, have at her.
Well, you said I know what your machines are. You have all the bells and whistles. In fact, one of your machines I was fortunate enough to use for a little bit, just to test it out on some things that they were looking at for future stuff. But tell us a little bit. We know you have level ice. You have fast ice. Let's kind of start with level ice. What have you found that it was working for you with level ice?
The consistency is really a really big change. So other facility where we don't have level ice, we had some troubles here and there. It might just be, we don't have scheduling built out for maintenance. We've got, a rotation of drivers in. We're not able to keep consistent ice. We've got some areas that are too high and some that are way too low. But with level ice, our operators are finding it much easier to train on. All of our new guys we've had cycling in the last few months just to build our staff has been, within, I'd say 4 or 5 cuts, they understand it pretty well. They all go through the level ice training videos that are out there by Marty. And, we've seen, a big emphasis on ease and consistency across the board. Our curlers have really noticed the difference too on just how level the sheet is.
I was just going to mention that I know you have curling in your facility as well, and so that's probably a big factor that helps for those guys, because we've been in some facilities that are just installing laser levels, and it's amazing to see the difference once you start doing that using the laser level. It's amazing with that. So let's jump a little bit into fast ice too. That's a newer product in the market, and it's a big factor for you guys to have it, or not a big, it's a compliment for you guys to have it, because it's definitely a big investment to put on, as well as level ice. But with fast ice, what have you seen the difference in your ice?
So our run times at our plants, reduced obviously. So we're getting the less suspended gases in there. We're getting a better clarity of our markings. We were able to use it from the get-go with building our ice surface. So Marty was there for it. We got to 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice, put the machines out there on the ice, and just kept going. I don't have to have multiple guys dragging the hose around for the boom. I can have 2 guys in the building, one's driving, just going back to back with floods, setting up really fast. So it's really seen an increase on our building process. And then like I said, going into our players. So the first week we were open, I had everybody coming up to me and saying, this ice is so much faster than the other place. We're seeing much better gameplay. The team really loved it from the first time they stepped on the ice. So really seeing the better quality for a product for our customers has been really nice to hear from.
Yeah, for sure. I know, and like I said before, it's a compliment that you guys have it, because in the NHL right now we're up to 19. Will be 19 rinks that have it, and it's gaining traction. But it's amazing the difference. I found it in Pittsburgh. I had players come up right away when we switched over. It definitely adds value to your ice conditions for sure. So back to level ice a little bit. Do you you mentioned you cut your maintenance time down. What does your maintenance time look like now with that? With the laser level, I found out when we had it, I was basically, I would say, not having to do maintenance at all, except for edge at the end of the night, and we kept our corners where we needed to, and our sheet was level. That's what I found out. Are you finding some of the same things?
Yeah, so the ability we're having to do much more dry cuts to shave down our high areas, or flood our low areas. So We've got a variance of about a tenth of an inch here and there, just from normal use, or if we're flipping over to manual mode throughout some of the
Yep.
heavier adult league games. But really, the only maintenance we're doing right now is our edging, our chipping, our feathering, and then before curling, we usually have anywhere from about an hour to 2 hours beforehand. So one of our guys will go out there, do a figure eight, a cross cut, a normal cut, and then do a wet cut for curling, and that's about it. Other than that, we're really not having to do a whole lot more maintenance. We got about an
Yeah.
hour a day that we have blocked out, but excuse me, that's about it.
Yeah. So it's definitely cut down on what you would have otherwise. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's fast ice wise too, kind of jumping around a little bit. You talked about that, you've noticed it in the plant, how your ice plant and how much less. What other things have you noticed with fast ice that have affected, not just utilities, but faster dry times, things like that?
Yeah.
With less water, better water control. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. And again, going back to training our new guys, I'm telling them set your scale to, whatever number we're going for, we're shooting for, and hit your top boom, bottom boom, your board spray, and have at it. It's really, going back to the old flood valve. Some guys are trying to gauge, what's half or what's a quarter or what's, trying to limit our water usage. And this one, it's exactly there. We can get our ground speed too, which is a nice addition. Some of our guys were trying to guess, we're trying to say, time out between your blue lines, and now I can just say, hit 5 miles on the dot, and just make a cut. No issues from there.
Yeah, that's definitely a big factor, having that speed sensor right on the unit, and you can monitor that for sure. So tell us a little bit why you guys decided to go lithium ion.
So our owner wanted to put an emphasis on having a more green facility, not having as many emissions. And that was an early conversation between me and him whenever he bought our facilities. So our older facility, we've got 2 propane machines. We had a gas edger. We actually swapped out and bought an EZ3 for that facility to try and cut down on some of our emissions. And I think he really just saw the emissions in that building and didn't want that, in the new building. You're spending all this money on a new complex, might as well spend a little extra money and have better indoor air quality for your players and your athletes. And that really led into the conversation of it. And, lithium ion, zero battery maintenance. We're not having the water. We're not having to worry about off gassing. Really was a clear decision for us.
Yeah, you speak to that, Jack, about the emissions, controlling the air, the green initiative, energy efficiencies, which are definitely more of a forefront nowadays in our industry. Obviously, you've shared with us already, with Brandon and I, some of the decisions of why you chose to go lithium ion, why you chose to go fast ice, level ice. Speak to the audience. If they're on the fence right now and they're actually seriously considering going from fossil fuel to lithium ion, going from traditional flood valve to fast ice, going from a hand crank to level ice, based on your experience, because you've had an experience now, we're into June, you've had it since late January, so call it 6 months. What would you share with the audience that are on the fence, looking at possibly moving forward in these 3 categories?
Yeah, so on a motor standpoint, even with a fossil fuel machine, I'm having to do more oil changes, having to keep an eye on it. We're going to have some oil leaks here and there. You're going to have some occasional breakdowns as is normal with the motor. With our battery, we haven't had any issues. Really, I mean, the water in the Zam pit doesn't splash on our batteries or on our chargers and damage them. We're not having an issue with moisture in there at all. Some people go and they have their issues, and some are valid, but we just haven't had any of them. We've seen a very easy transition into using battery machines, and haven't really wanted to look back. So
Nice.
it's it's going to be a little more in the upfront cost, but you're going to make it back. It's going to ease of mind. And then going into fast ice and level ice, it's really just consistency of your surface. You're not having a newer driver who might be overzealous and think they need to cut more, and then thin out your ice too fast. We have to spend more time to fix it. but it's been, easy transition. Our drivers are loving it. Really seeing them pick up. I mean, they picked up, the systems pretty quickly whenever you were in town for the training. I mean, within a matter of hours, they felt comfortable, and then we're just going off and getting more seat time to really dial in.
Right.
So, yeah, they've had zero issues with it. It looks like a lot of buttons and screens to look at, but really, whenever I'm touching 4 or 5 the whole time you're cutting, it's real minimal. So,
Right. So have you had to hire new people since we were there back in January of this year doing the training? Have you had to apply training to new hirees since we were there?
yeah, so we're always trying to grow.
Mhm.
We're looking at making sure we've got a staff that's big enough where I'm not having to overwork my guys who are there. I want guys to have, their days off. They have a social life outside of work. They're not crazy like I am, that I work myself to death and try to.
Don't I know?
Yeah, so, trying to be there for my guys and making sure they can have their off days and have a big enough staff where I'm not having to worry about it as much. We've hired 3 guys since you were there.
Okay.
1 just finished up. 2 are currently in training right now.
Okay.
They picked it up pretty quick. So
Nice. So that transition seemed to be fairly smooth then for going from what you were taught and what your existing operators were taught to training new people. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Great. So let's talk a little bit about fast ice and level ice as far as cost of ownership and payback. I mean, it's been a short window, but you've come from other facilities in the past that have been traditional. Are you guys documenting any way, shape, or form as far as your savings, water usage, energy usage on compressors because you're carrying less ice, or more exactly of your desired thickness that you want to carry? Are you guys documenting this information for further use?
So I don't know too much about the financial side since I'm not
Okay.
wrapped into that.
Yep.
But in terms of our ice thickness, we're using Sub-Zero, and our team is really liking Sub-Zero. If anybody's looking to switch over to that too. But even on that, we've got a tablet. We can send our guys out there for ice step checks. We've been using a new Bluetooth caliper the last few days, last few weeks, and our guys were talking the other day. Some of us are kind of hard of hearing. And if you're trying to read a caliper off to the other guy, it's a constant, what did you just say? Or you're walking away. And no, you can just hit the button on the Bluetooth caliper, enters right away. They're
Nice.
cutting their ice thickness times down. So we were at like 10 minutes, and now we're at like 4.5, I think, for running through it. So
Nice. So that whole process of ice maintenance, like you were saying to Brandon earlier, it is definitely shortened its time to be able to perform start to finish. It sounds like, yes.
oh yes. Oh, yeah.
Nice. Brandon, anything else you want to ask Jack prior to departing for the day?
No, actually, you've answered a lot of the questions. It's been great talking to you, Jack, and getting to know you at NARS and stuff. And I think you got an exciting future ahead of you for sure. With all the steps and how quickly you've jumped up into your career, and it sounds exciting for Tulsa and you yourself. So it's good to hear everything's been going well.
Yeah, and I gotta say, because I've been at that facility right at the grand opening, what a beautiful facility that you run and operate, Jack. Any folks that are in that area, ever in Tulsa, strongly recommend getting to that facility. The Wee Street, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Formerly, it used to be a Macy's department store. What a structural change that was, taking a second floor out and re-engineering the whole structure. So yeah, I strongly recommend folks, if you're in that area, reach out to Jack and his team, get yourself in there. You get to see the facility. You get to see the 2 552 lithium ions with both fast ice and level ice operating at his facility and delivering, as Frank Zamboni said, we're always delivering the best product, and that's selling ice. So great job, Jack. Again, I want to thank you, Jack, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And as well, Brandon, thanks for joining me. And folks, if you are listening to our episodes of Ask the Zamboni Expert podcast, if you have any questions for one of our experts or any idea for a future episode, please email your questions to request-to-info@zamboni.com. And for more info and additional podcast episodes, please visit zamboni.com/podcasts or search Ask the Zamboni Experts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast you listen on. This is Marty Elliott, along with Brandon Radeke and our guest, Jack Schultz, wishing you an ice day.